In today's video, I have got a special treat for you guys. I'm actually going to deep dive into our test and scale process that we use to build up and optimize e-commerce Facebook ad campaigns. Now, I'm going to be looking at my iPad here so that I can walk you through my notes on this process. And one thing that I will say is that this is a continually evolving work in progress, right? Like Facebook ads is changing all the time and we're always making little tweaks and improvements to this. So I'm going to walk you through how our process looks right now. And I also invite you guys to comment and let me know what process you're using. Are you using something similar? Like, do you use similar thresholds to us? Super interested to hear what others are doing in this space as well. All right. So let's start up and have a look at this process that I've got outlined for you here. And you'll notice that we have broken it out into 3 phases. And the 3 phases are, first, creative testing, and then you move on to audience testing and scaling with more budget and emphasis and mental bandwidth being spent on the testing part of the audience testing and scaling equation. And then phase 3, it's still audience testing and scaling at this point, but this time we're prioritizing the scaling part because hopefully at this point we've found a creative that works and some audiences that worked. And then we can sort of prioritize more of that scaling part instead of the testing part. All right, so let's dive down into phase 1 and have a look at that. So phase 1, we're doing creative testing here, and you want to be starting with just one campaign and one really broad audience. So a demographic or wide interest. The size of the audience right now matters a lot more than how targeted it is. Right now we're still in creative testing phase and we just want to figure out which of our creatives is actually working better than the others. Like, we are not actually trying to get a profitable ROAS at this point. And if you try and get a profitable ROAS on your Facebook ads straight out of the gate, you're probably shooting yourself in the foot. Now, I talk about this elsewhere. With Facebook ads, you need to have a budget for testing. And right now, in phase 1, creative testing, we are just using that testing budget, and our entire goal is not to make a profit, it's just to see which creative that works. And because that's our goal, we don't need to get super detailed on the audience, we just need a large audience size to ensure that we can show our ads enough to get some data on which one is working best. So what we do here at Big Flare is we usually test around 24 creatives at this stage. Now, this is a rule of thumb, like if you've got a much bigger budget or a much lower budget, you could test more or less creatives. And the product price of your product also plays a factor here. If your product is a lot more expensive, then you're not going to be able to test as many creatives for the same budget. So this bit is variable, but just to give you guys a guideline, I might put this down at this stage as 24 creatives that you want to test. And those creatives could look something like this. So you could take 3 ad texts, so you just write 3 different ad copies, and then you pair that with 8 different images or videos, a mixture of images and videos. And then when you multiply that together, 3 multiplied by 8, you can actually get 24 creatives out of that. So it's a little shortcut. You don't necessarily have to think of 24 different ad copies, and you don't need to generate 24 different images or videos. You can slice this down a bit because when you mix and match, you treat the ad copy and the images and videos as separate components that you can mix and match to bulk up your creative list. So test around 24 creatives, and that is going to look like 3 different ad copies and maybe 8 different images or videos. And at this stage, we're using ad set level budgets, and we're doing 1 image per ad set. So inside each ad set, you're going to have the 3 ad copies, but each of those ad copies is going to have the same image or video. And when you multiply that out, you've got 8 images or videos. So this looks like having 8 ad sets, each with 3 different ads inside. The 3 ads inside all have the same image or video, but they have the 3 different ad copies that you've created. And you want to spend around 9x your target CPA per ad set. And that 9x comes from the fact that for a balanced amount of statistical significance, you probably want to spend about 3x your target CPA on each individual ad. And there's going to be 3 ads in each ad set, so 3 by 3 is 9. So around about 9x your target CPA is your budget at the ad set level. And your Facebook can be a bit funny and sometimes spend a lot more on one ad versus the other ad in an ad set. So you do need to watch this, and if one ad in your ad set starts taking all the budget and the other ones don't get the right amount of spend, you might need to pause the one that's taking all the budget. And once again, reminder that all we're trying to do here is test creative, and at this stage, all we need to do is get a fairly even amount of spend on each ad so that we can then compare the data and decide which ad is the best performer. Now, once you've figured out which ad is the best performer, it's time to graduate that particular ad to phase 2. So let's go out of here and dive into phase 2, and let's do it like that. Now in phase 2, we're going to take that best performing ad and we're going to graduate it to a new campaign, and the purpose of this campaign is audience testing and scaling. And at the beginning, it's really just going to be pure testing, but as the ad set develops, as the data comes in, we're going to shift more and more towards scaling up the good audiences. So in this campaign, you're probably looking at around 10 to 20 LLAs or lookalike audiences, plus 10 to 20 interests. Once again, not a hard and fast rule. This is just like a rule of thumb to give you something to guide you, to know roughly what to create. And at this stage, we're going to use ad set level budgets with one audience per ad set. So, and we've just got that one best performing creative at this stage. So each ad set just has one audience, one creative with ad set level budgets. And the ad set level budgets are really useful here because then what you can do is, as the data comes in, you can pause the ad sets that have the lower performing audiences, and you can dedicate more budget towards the audiences that are actually working. So start with low daily budgets. Excellent little typo there. Start with low daily budgets, please. And aggressively pause those low performing audiences and slowly scale the budgets on the winning audiences. So once you've been doing this for a while, we'll normally do this for about a month. And I should have said, by the way, that on average, each of these phases might take about a month. So phase 1 there, we might be spending a month just on creative testing. Phase 2, we might then spend on the audience testing where we're prioritizing testing. And then phase 3 might be about 1 month long too. But once you've started to get some of those audiences that are working really well and working a lot better paired with that best performing creative, now you can go a bit more wholeheartedly into the scaling part of the equation. And this just kind of looks exactly like phase 2. The only difference is now you've shifted a lot more of that budget into the audiences that are actually working, and you're not spending as much budget on new tests. You're going to dedicate a greater proportion of your overall budget to scaling those winners. You'll be reducing the proportion of the overall budget on audience testing. And this last point is key. As I always say, always be testing, and that little motto is just so especially true when it comes to Facebook ads. Maybe at this point you found a creative that's kind of working well for you, but don't sit on your laurels and just wait around for it to die with you having nothing left in reserve to go when that creative dies. That creative probably will die at some point. It might be performing really well right now, but all creatives in Facebook have a certain timeline beyond which their performance just starts to lower and lower and lower. And if you keep spamming that same creative, eventually you're just going to see your CPAs go through the roof, your ROASs come down, and no one's going to be happy. So that's why what we do is as soon as we go into phase 3, which is the good part, we've invested some time in phase 1 and phase 2, now we're finally getting something that works and we're scaling it up. We're not going to rest on the whole testing thing. Simultaneously to phase 3 starting, phase 1 starts again. So in that same month, month 3 of the campaign, we scale up those audiences that are winning, but we've actually just started phase 1 all over again to try and find the next winning ad, so that is ready to go either right away or as soon as the current best performing ad starts to see a dip in performance. And by the way, how long can your best performing ad continue to perform well? It's anyone's guess. Like, I've seen a good performing creative in Facebook ads like last a week before dying, and I've seen it last a year plus before dying. Yes, believe it or not, I have actually seen a single creative that just continued to perform for a year plus in Facebook ads. So it's not impossible, but what is a given is that whatever creative you've got that's working well right now might soon die. So always be testing, always be looking for that next creative that's going to work really well in Facebook ads. And there you have it. That's our structure and plan for testing and scaling Facebook ads campaigns for e-commerce. What did you think of this process, and what are you doing for your test and scale process, if anything? Let me know in the comments below, guys. And as always, if you've liked this video, give me a thumbs up. You can hit the subscribe and bell button as well to stay notified of when I post. And until next time, everyone, always be testing.